Boom, what's up everyone? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakyan. Very excited to be talking about creating opportunities in Bangladesh and worldwide. We have Sadid Bin Hasan joining us on the show. Hello.
Thank you so much, Alan, for introducing me. I'm really happy to be at the show, and thank you so much for introducing our audience from Bangladesh and worldwide. And we're really motivated as a nation, Bangladesh, and we have a lot of people who have a lot of capabilities to do really well. Like, there are lots of friends coming over to United States, Europe, and a lot of these people, but the only place where we currently struggle is the opportunities that we lack. And right now we're trying to improve on the opportunities that we have. And thank you so much for having such a good user base like Bangladeshis Beyond Borders and like your show. Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be here.
And this is exactly why I invited you on the show, because you have such a strong passion for wanting to help inspire other people to their fullest potential around the world, and especially in your home nation of Bangladesh. Yeah. So this is very exciting for us on the show. So a little bit of background on Sadid, and you guys can see Sadid's links below. He's a very aspirational freshman right now in Minerva Schools, and he is really passionate about entrepreneurship, about education, about data analytics, about policy advocacy, and he's doing work right now with students on Capitol Hill. And we're gonna break all of this down and so much more. I'm very excited to have you on the show. All right. So we love starting off things with a big history perspective on civilization. Here we are, we find ourselves as stewards of Earth as humans. So what's your current take on this big history picture of human civilization?
I think one of the biggest human factors about human civilization is currently about global climate change and like global warming, and how people are going towards a more green society in comparison. So like from Minerva Schools, where I'm studying, where it's an interdisciplinary platform where students from 60 different countries come in one residence hall and live in 7 different countries together. So what we're taught is that currently the struggles that we have is not just limited to what our capabilities are, but it's also about how our ancestors have affected the world before we came here.
Yes.
So one of the biggest challenges is how we can tackle those problems which are coming here, like global climate change, how the inequalities of different places, like my country where we come from, Bangladesh, like, or even in the Southeast Asia, or like in the broader scale, how we can see these inequalities of where some people are very rich, very privileged, and some people are not as privileged in this scenario. So how we can reduce these inequalities and create a more sustainable movement towards the sustainable development goals, and create a better playing ground for all these people.
Yes, that's very huge. I like your big history perspective. It's very driven towards wanting to have a baseline that is increased very quickly around the world for everyone to have the basic needs they need, plus the ability to pursue whatever they desire as their most creative potential. I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay, so. And for those that are watching from Simulation, we're live also to Sadid's audience that's watching from Bangladesh too. So this is very cool to be able to be doing both at the same time. Okay, so let's begin unpacking this journey for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you teach us about what this is even like to be born in a place like Bangladesh. Bangladesh is just east of India, and it is coastal. As well in the Indian Ocean.
It's highly coastal,
Yes, so please, teach us about kind of what the culture is like, what socioeconomics are like, what your upbringing was like, and how you find yourself now up to here.
All right, so Bangladesh is a very progressive country right now. So it was created through liberation in 1971. So we're just reaching our fullest potential, or our first generation which got to see independence. So the story goes like this. We were largely under a governance of Indian subcontinent with Pakistan, and then we had liberated our nation in 1971, and we're reaching 50 years in 2021. So as this time go forward, we see that there has been a lot of progression economically, education-wise, infrastructure-wise, and also through lots of initiatives that governments, individuals, and societies have taken. So I grew up in I was born in a small city of Barishal back in our country, which is a southern part of the entire Bangladesh. And then my parents moved into the capital of Dhaka. So in the starting, it was really tough for my family because none of my parents were doing really good when we first came to the capital. So some of the things that we had to go through is that we were living in rented house. We were trying to do good with our lives, and then slowly what happened was, like, my other relatives of my family, they were already into the Dhaka city, and they were already creating more links in their city. So my family got to know about different opportunities through where I could grow. So I'm a single child, and like growing as a single child in such a family where both your parents are working, I think one of the biggest challenges is that how you sustain yourself as you grow. So I started off in a different locality and moving towards different locations within the capital itself. Like, I was studying in one of the best schools of my country. It was called St. Joseph. So moving forward in a scenario where you're competitively the best in your previous school and going to a competitive environment to coming to San Francisco in Silicon Valley, this has been a very non-linear path, I'd like to say, because like nothing about coming to a certain position in your life is always straightforward. But I think like the most important thing is about the grit that we have as a nation. Like, we are the first nation who laid our lives for a language, for our culture, for our wider Bangladeshi nationalism. But what we believe is in the power of youth, in the power of what we have the potential to do in our lives. So that is one of the biggest opportunities and biggest ambitions that we have as a nation. A lot of people are aspiring to do really great, but what's most important is how we view ourselves in the future and how we can facilitate a youth government going forward to create a better Bangladesh.
Yeah, you took us back 50 years to when. So it used to be Bangladesh as mostly with India and Pakistan. And then split and has gained independence.
Yeah, it gained independence in 1971.
1971.
Now it's here.
And you started in the southern part of Bangladesh, and then you went up to Dhaka, the capital.
Yeah.
And then your parents gave you that foundation of helping you get into St. Joseph's. You got there into the high school.
Yeah. I definitely got into the high school. So like my parents were still working. I was still in a capacity where I had to figure things out for myself because both parents working. I had my grandmother back home, but but St. Joseph gave me a very good foundation because like being a very competitive school to get into, it had a set of peers which helped me to actually bring out my fullest potential because everyone was very competitive. In our country, one thing is that like everything depends on your university admission exam. So where you get into a good university or a good school or a good company, that becomes the brand tag that you have as an individual yourself.
Sure.
So one very big thing about this is that people are very competitive de facto because our country is very densely populated. The capital itself has about 20 million people living in a very small place. Yeah. So it's very densely populated. A lot of people have ideas and there's a lot of competition. And the survival of the fittest concept goes very largely into this, that like only the people who are at the top stay at the top, and the others, it's very unlikely if the infrastructure doesn't go forward that a lot of people would be able to shine in that particular scenario. So a core part of my growing or a core part of my understanding is given the opportunity for like opportunity and capabilities that people like me and you have, we have a moral responsibility to look upon these people. And that's why I think a major part of my growth would point me towards going back to my country in summer and working for the people.
That's right. This what you speak of is this beautiful evolution of your own ethics and of so many people's ethics, like we love to highlight, where there's this realization that if I can help others achieve their fullest potential and achieve what they want to see built in the world, where you're indicating that it can sometimes be more difficult for people of low or middle SES to achieve their ideas and make impact, that if we can help unleash that potential, raise that baseline up across the world and in Bangladesh, this is one of the key, most important things that we can be doing. Okay, now take us to you with your insatiable desire for education and entrepreneurship, how this started. You like to debate a lot. You were you started your math club. You were getting through some of these very sometimes people think they're difficult to get through these struggles with applying to schools and getting through the process of visas. But you say that if you're passionate, that you can get through it. So yeah, teach us about this.
So one very important thing is that I believe a lot of people in the world have talent, but not a lot of people, including myself, do not initially have that capability of understanding what the power of perseverance is. So one thing is that you can go into like high school, like middle school, and see that you're doing great in a lot of things. You're doing debating, you're playing different sports. For me, it was soccer, or playing or even competing in different competitions. And you're seeing that you're doing really good and you're able to understand what your capabilities are. But after a certain point, you're seeing that like what you can do is limited by what you think you can do for yourself. But I believe that passion for particular things can push you very much forward. So my story is pretty much the same like every teenager in Bangladesh, like before like 2013, where I was in class 9. So then I met this amazing person, my mentor, like his name is Bodruzzaman Muhammad. So he told me that in life, the talent that we have as youth is something that we need to channel for a better country, for a better goal, for something which is bigger than myself. It's not just about satisfying myself into going to a very good business or very good engineering university, because like that concept is only limited to yourself. So he told me that in life, if you were to actually go forward, you need to think about what you can do for a community.
Yes.
So then we went on to think about like what youth government we can create, what youth opportunities we can create, and how we can make ourselves into a position where it inspires others to go forward. So in doing that, I had to experiment with a lot of things. So even when I started in class 4, like I started speaking. Like I loved speaking. I learned that from my mother, that she used to love speaking. She used to love organizing. And my dad was really good in ideating a lot of things. So how you can mix that ideation and your ability to have confidence in yourself into doing something which is bigger than yourself. Yes. So that was the click, and I found debating. Like I had very good mentors. I would love to talk about my mentor Sadid Bin Hasan. My mentor, he was one of the pushing persons who introduced me into this world of debating, and St. Joseph's Debating Club itself. It helped me see that there were lots of pioneers in this field who loved working, who loved talking, and that gave me a brisk into the larger debating community, and to largely see how your views outside your school can be largely influencing in developing you as a person. Because when you're confined within a school, like, and when you're in an environment where opportunities are scarce, you are not always able to see what is beyond the capabilities that you see in your school. So debating was that start for me, and I had to go through a lot of struggles, not being able to make it to certain competitions. Like one essential competition in my growth was probably the Asian World Schools debating competition, which happened in 2013, which I wasn't able to go to because of financial issues, or because of financial incapabilities, or because of incapabilities as a person, as a debater. So when you are just starting off doing so good, like that initial hit of a beginner's luck, one thing that pulls you down is the fact that you do not have the persistence to keep on doing that to improve yourself. So that initial heartbreak helped me gather myself up with the help of the mentors that I had, and to grow myself up to become someone who does not accept failure as an answer, but I just love to learn from those failures in order to go forward. So that's a very big part of the start where I have. Yeah.
I love how you highlight perseverance as something that's super important for you, that you had these stimuli of mentors, the debate, falling in love with debate. This is so important, that pairing together students with opportunities, providing more opportunities for students to be able to see themselves, as you had with your mom and dad, being able to see how you wanted to build something that impacted something greater than you. that if every single one of us could find that within ourselves to impact something greater than ourselves, to leave the world better than when we entered it, that can create a very powerful cycle. Okay, now, you started hinting at, debate. You also built out the math club at St. Joseph's.
Yeah.
Yes, so then there's that. There's, you're talking about soccer as well. We have some awesome, images also that showcase some of this work that you were doing, and your start. And so then you find yourself getting more and more into competitions as well, and sometimes we do go through these ups and downs, and to be able to persevere, like you said, through those downs and collect ourselves and get these beginners' lucks that keep opening more doors for us is so important. So tell us about kind of that flow for you as you found yourself getting more and more involved with these strokes of luck and persevering.
All right, so first off, like my biggest take was I used to love playing and seeing football since I was a kid. Like I started playing in my locality, like in Stars, back in 2008. At the initial stage, I was just seeing how people play on FIFA, play on go on and play different things in their particular localities, playing with different people. But one thing that happened is that every person aspires to become something in their life, right? Like some people aspire to become an astronaut, some people aspire to become a doctor, some people aspire to become world changers. For me, it was playing on the field, playing for Bangladesh someday probably. So one thing that happened is that I used to go to school at 8, but I used to go to the field at 7 a.m. No matter if there were earthquakes, no matter if there were civil outbreaks, no matter if there was a storm, we used to play football, we used to play soccer. So from there, I saw that I learned about leadership. I learned about how different people in a society, like how they can act in a team, play what they love to play, and actually do something great together. It's not just an art about kicking a ball, but it's the art of doing something you love doing. The art of doing something beautiful. So a large part of my life was on the football field, and I learned a lot about life on the football field.
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah. And moving forward, one thing is that just in a particular competition, which you have done for probably 20 or 50 debating competitions, you wouldn't probably learn a lot of things related to physicality. You wouldn't learn a lot of things about how people interact when they're under pressure, unless you have lots of years of experience. But how I complemented these is that whenever I was at a standstill, I was struck with chronic jaundice in 2015, for which I had to leave football temporarily. So whenever I was hit with something, I moved on to the other thing. Thinking that there can be more things that I could do. I started off with playing football, but then I saw that at one point I have to stop. Then I switched to debating, which helped me go on to where my coach Srijan, who was also my classmate, and he helped me build myself into a better debater and go into the national camp twice in a single year in 2016. So that particular year was very big in my upgrowth, because whenever I saw that switching between football, debating, and mathematics, the three things that I really love to do. So when I got stuck in debating, I did not be stuck in sadness about why I couldn't make that happen. I would just switch into doing something that could spend my time, because I'm like that person who loves motion. I really love not standing still somewhere, but I really love moving into different locations so that I can try different things. No matter what the outcome, I'd want to give it a try, because I believe that in life, the only word that you shouldn't have in your life is the word regret, because we always regret about what we do not accomplish in life. We always regret about not doing something because some other people might be saying different things about us. But I believe that what is most crucial about our lives is that we need to take that extra risk so that we can go forward. So if you see this picture, this was the first time we had won a very big business competition in Bangladesh. It was called SEMA Business Quiz. So what happened is that we didn't even have a team 3 days before the competition, but I called my friend we could actually win this. And it was very ambitious because there were 600 people and so many people, and there was only 6 teams going forward into the finals. How was a team with no experience beforehand ever going to make it, or even audaciously even going to win it? So we made a team. We thought, why not do it? Because the point in time when you're most strong is the point in time when you have nothing to lose. We had absolutely nothing to lose. We were not even thinking about winning. We were just there making this exam. So one funny thing about this stake is that our team was named after a friend. The team's name was Turhan Pathan. So he was a friend of mine, and we just went there to like basically post some things, just let it happen. Like we were just there on a regular Friday. A Friday is a holiday in Bangladesh. So just going there on a Friday and just sitting with your friends and casually giving the exam. So having a 60 minutes for a written exam, we did it in 40 minutes and we closed it. And we had 9 or 10 answers which weren't answered. So I was just looking into what might be the guessing scenario over here. Like let's guess 9 or 10 of these answers. And surprisingly, the intuition worked for us. We got 9 out of those 10 guest answers work, and we were the first team emerging over there. And thankfully, due to my friends, we had the ability to win this competition in the end. So that was one of the peakest moments of my life at the beginning phase back in 2016, when I had to eventually shift from debating, because that was the time for our college applications to United States and different places. So if we move forward from this image, like we'd see like what happened forward. So
quick on the way, just so interesting how one of the key ways for someone to also finding themselves at their full creative potential is diversifying their interests.
Yeah.
So when you have mathematics and debate and football as 3 things that you're super passionate about, that when you hit these walls, you break through them by kind of oscillating to another one of your passions and hyper focusing and going through the walls. I really think that's a crucial key. It also builds a mental model that is across fields as well, which is really great because you can learn different things across those 3 principles. And that's great that you doing this is also very important. It's like taking the risk of going into competition state and only being able to challenge yourself and challenge the friends and colleagues that you have. So so this is another one.
Yeah, so this guy is one of the most brilliant juniors I've ever met. Shout out to him. His name is Irti Zairam. So this was about Quanta 2016, which happened in 20th of November in 2016. So one funny recollection, if I would want to share about this, is that we had a team for going there, and like October is the month where you have to apply for your United States college applications, right? So I had just applied to my early decision in October 2016. And moving forward, like we had our final examinations coming up, the thing which decides whether I'm going to graduate or not. So one important part about it is that we had a team, and our team was consisted of all my classmates. And we were supposed to go there on 17th November to India, flying over to India in Lucknow, which would be my second time abroad. Only my second time, and I was very excited for this because we had a very jam-packed team, we had a very strong team. So the exams were on 20th November and onwards, and those were the most crucial exams, the maths and physics examination. But I just had to go off this risk because like this competition started on the 16th and ended on the 22nd, and I knew that if I could break it here, then that would have been a very solid point for me going forward.
Yes.
So I talked to my principal, I talked to my teacher, his name was Prince Sir. I'm really grateful to him for giving us this opportunity and sticking by us when we were in a position where we found no one else who could help us in this. So what suddenly happened is all of my friends had to drop out from the team because they had to focus on their studies. But I was sure that like we had to take this risk because without the risk, I'm still being the person who anyone else could become. Why would I not go onto that journey which my mentor in 2013 taught me? Why not be bigger than yourself? So I formed a new team within a week with 4 more people who I didn't even see a week ago. We go there, we fly off to India with Prince Sir. We were sitting there in the this quiz is about the math quiz over there. So we sit there in the exam hall, me and Iram. We were giving this exam, and both of us did not have that intuition back then about what higher calculus might look like the differential equations of like multiple degrees, how you can solve them. So we were giving the exam, we were doing really good, and we were hopeful about going to the final stage, right? So one thing that happened is that they called 12 preliminary teams, and we were not one of them. Both of us were shaking. We were like having a thought that, we took such a big risk. Our final exams was on the door. We risked them, and we are now going to have a more difficult set of examination papers, which we will have to tackle back when we go home. And all this for nothing. What were we doing? But suddenly, the luck favored us at that point, and we got called to the second round of the quiz. And suddenly, we were finding ourselves to be in shape. That was the point. Both of us broke into a scenario where we had nothing to lose, and we were back into that SEMA phase. Like, we were back into that phase where we just felt that this is the moment we can win it all. We weren't afraid of any competition. There were like national teams from Brazil, there were national teams from 30 other countries. There was Jordan national team, probably the United States national team as well. But we were not even representing a broader population, but we were representing St. Joseph over there. We were representing a part of our nation, which was the only team of that of our country over there. Yeah. So 2 of us on the stage with 11 other champions of their district, and now we're sitting and we're not even looking at our competition. We're actually focusing on our thing. So at that point where you lose yourself completely, you're answering A for America, B for Bangladesh, like you choose your options. And finally, when the final round is coming, there was the cliffhanger. So there is this team from Germany who practiced particularly for this competition. So they were champions for 3 straight years, and they already won it because they were like saying answers in 4 or 3 seconds, which was inhuman from any human standard. They were just practicing so good. So we were at a standstill, 3 teams were at a tie, and at that point I felt that now we have to take a risk, because no one remembers who comes third, no one remembers who comes fourth, but we have to be that team which takes a risk in going forward. So I said to Iram, we were thinking that the option C might be an answer. So eventually at a point we were thinking, like, can it be C? Iram says that, yeah, it might be C, like it might be that answer. So I hit the buzzer, I say it might be C for Canada, and eventually we win. And that was the breaking point that I had in going forward to my education and to all the experiences that I've had. I had already established Joseph and Math Club, I had already established all those things back in my country, but I was needing this break so much that you have to do something internationally, or even recognize that you are at an international level, right?
Yes.
Because feeling that you're very good at your country and feeling good internationally or globally gives you this sense that, like, you are a global citizen and you have the capability to compete as a global individual. So winning Quanta 2016 was a very big push in both mine and Iram's life, because I came off to Minerva Schools, which was the best decision of my life.
Yes.
And Iram went on to win multiple International Physics Olympiad medals that he has. He has already solved the first perfect solution in the IPHO of 2018, and he has been doing so good. I have been doing somewhat okay, probably by standards that I had. Like, no, I didn't even imagine that I would be off to such a place talking to you over here right now, like 5 years down the line. This is a tremendous opportunity for me, I think. Yeah.
I love it. See, this is such an interesting story to me. It's fascinating because the more that we see these similarities in aspirational youth, the more that we can help other youth that are coming through take these risks. You had your exams. You knew that everyone's studying for their exams, but you could go and compete at a really high level international competition that would then teach you so much more than just what people were preparing for the exam to do. And it's recognizing these moments, these risks that we can take in our youthful years that push us to not only being the best in our local community, but then being the best in our country, then being competing at not at the international level. You surround yourself with people that are equally and even smarter than you are, and that's really pushing yourself to the next level over and over again. I like that so much, and that's a reoccurring theme that I think is so important to highlight. All right, so now you find yourself in kind of a more like, Minerva Schools is one of the best decisions that you made in your life, and it's an incredible place for young people to be able to see different places in the world, surround us with different cultures, different powerful leaders and academic courses. This is a very contemplative photo of you. So teach us about this and teach us about these next couple steps for you.
All right. So one important part of my life is that I had applied to a lot of schools, and I eventually got to some great ones with great scholarships. Like I got into Clark, I got into Bard College, like economics, Levi Economics Scholarship, which was very prestigious. Like so many things in 2017, it felt really great. I was living the dream, right? Like moving forward, you go and see that all your dreams are coming true. But one eventual thing was that there were lots of things going on. I was absolutely burned out. There were like, from the place I come from, like our surroundings, like even the closest of your friends happen to find a way to tell you that like it might not be in the best interest of you in going, or like not inspirational as well. So finding yourself in an environment which is not inspirational, which doesn't help you into identifying what you can be in your fullest potential, drains you out a lot if you were to struggle in your own path, right? So like if you are doing something which you really love doing and there aren't a lot of people who share the same light or who do not inspire you, there is a point where you burn yourself out. So at that point I realized in 2017 that this is a point where, due to a lot of factors, that I need to take a break. At April 2014 I got this decision that I was able to go to a lot of places, but I chose not to. I chose not to because I thought that I needed a break from this life. I needed a break from everything, basically. I needed to have some time on my own where I could focus on like myself, and I could focus on like my family, and I focus on developing more skills and applying again, because if I could do it this time, I could do it again. So the most toughest point of my life was back from May 2017 to August, and eventually through June 2018. I'll tell you why. So in those years, like most of my friends, like my best friend is currently studying in Vanderbilt. So we had done everything together, and it was a very sad moment for me to see him go, because I wanted to board on that flight together with him, because we shared this dream for so long that we are applying everywhere. Like no one, there is no information symmetry of like applying to these universities, right? Before you actually go forward into applying to different places, you do not have that information as to like how to apply to different universities when you actually start applying. So we figured that all out. I'm giving a huge shout out to Bangladeshis Beyond Borders for giving us that platform to actually see what are the opportunities that we have. There are a lot of colleges that you can actually apply to, but you do not have the financial capability or the financial aid that can help coming you abroad, right? So I would love to shout out to Reshad Bhai, I'd love to shout out to Saraf Apu, I'd love to shout out to Intekha Bhai, and all those people who helped push this idea, and Fahim Bhai especially, pushing this idea as to like how you can actually go forward into understanding that no matter where you're coming from, you can always make a positive push in your life. I would just like to tell like all the students watching right now that if I could have made it, if Alan could have made it, you definitely can make it, and that's a solid that's a solid contentment. So moving forward, like
you've been listing all of these things that you have to do in order for these strokes of luck to continue happening, for these doors to keep opening, the perseverance that has to happen, the ability to reconcile your sadnesses and miseries when things don't go your right way, and you have to keep going and not turn around and go back with your tail between your legs. You get taking the risks. That's seeing you and hearing you talk about it is making me so excited, thinking about how many more people this around the world we can see just blossom like a flower as we help make sure that the right opportunities are presented to them. Yeah, this is very exciting to me.
All right, so I'll go a bit more about this story. So like just before, like the image that was there, like about my this thing. So like after like my mini fiasco of like my parents had gone through a car accident, like during that time period in 2017, from like in May or like June, everything was going wrong. Like everyone was going abroad. I was thinking that I might not make it, because all I had prepared was for going abroad, but I hadn't done a lot of things to get into an engineering university, partly because I was not very motivated into studying that, right?
Yes.
So one thing that happened is that I talked to a lot of friends. I went about 30 to 40 kilometers to different people's house asking for advice as to what to do. People who had already made it big in their lives. Like I remember I was coaching for this business institute in my country, and I just after the coaching I took a bike and I went very far off, like 20, like it's absolutely the farthest corner of our city, of our capital, Uttara. I went over there just to talk to like Intekab Bhai, to talk about how like I could make an impact about all this. So he, Fahim Bhai, all of these people told me that no matter what, there is hope. There is hope. They had, like, these are the few people, you know, like in life, you wouldn't always find the most important people. Like you wouldn't find Elon Musk coming to you and telling you that like, these are the things that you need to do. You need to figure that out for yourself. But finding the right people in your life, that is the most important thing. The people who would tell you, who would stick by you and tell you that this is possible. I think that was the crucial point in my life, where in August, I called Fahim Bhai, like my brother, and he told me, especially along with Nafiz Bhai, who was another big factor in me growing up. He was the person who told me that before my Minerva exam, in Minerva, before even joining Minerva, you have to give an exam before coming to Minerva, because they test you if you're able to assess, they first assess you as if you're really good in the instant moment. They just take a part of your life and they assess if you're doing good in that particular point in time, and that's how they assess the very selective students that they take in the university. So before the exam, I was having this conversation with my brother Nafis, and he told me that like this is just another exam, just another day at the exam. So this amount of consolidation, like as to this is just another day at the office, that helped me push, and that told me that I could actually make it. I gave my exam on August and I got in September. But the largest point was, now what? Now comes the factor about the visa examination. So why was this a problem? So a lot of students come into Bangladesh, get into different places, but a significant portion of them get rejected of the United States visa. Because this is probably because their inability to convince that they can actually do good here, they can sustain themselves here, and they can actually do betterment to the world. But I think this pushed me farther into, even after securing such a good future, or even after securing a place where you can grow upon yourself right now in San Francisco, like in Silicon Valley, which is one of the biggest incubating areas of the world, I still went on to give those business examinations. I still went on to take that risk. I even got into them. But after getting into them, I took this decision as to not studying there. Why? Because I believed that I would eventually be able to come to Minerva. I would be eventually able to secure my dreams. But there was a huge risk factor, because if my visa got rejected, I would be 2 years behind, or even 1.5 years behind my friends who were already there, and 2 years behind my best friends who already came to US in 2017. So taking that risk, I formed a bicycle team where we used to bike 30 to 40 kilometers every day. I made new friends, and I finished 24 games with my father on the PlayStation. Like having that family time, which I didn't have the time before. Like I didn't have that closure with my dad. I didn't have that ability to like interact with myself innately, giving spiritual time to myself and to grow as an individual. So I think that moment where you see here the image on the bottom is that it's very scarce, like nothing is there, it's very shallow. But when you look up, there's so much enlightenment when you can look up to this. So this gave me a better push towards going to a future. And I believe that if I were to come here in September 2017, I wouldn't have done such a good job. I would have probably settled for mediocrity.
Yeah, that's right. You want
and I wouldn't have gotten this pressure.
Right. Correct. Yeah, the same thing comes up for us a lot too when we're thinking about, oh, why isn't this opportunity ready for me now? Well, there's maybe a reason why that is showing up for you later in life. I like how you indicate the people from around the world. When we think about this, sometimes it's difficult to wrap our minds around into what it's like to live somewhere where when we sell our time for money, that we can only earn the thing that we want in a period of maybe a year or 2 years, versus somewhere else in the world economically you can sell your time for where you can get that thing in a month or 2 months of working. So there's just a huge difference in terms of passing your time in different areas that are more or less economically developed, let's say, and what that means. So if you do something, like if you do take something like this example of you persevering through the visa and helping other people, inspiring them to persevere through the visa issues and getting through all of the applications to the different organizations. Now I want to, let's keep going. You go through Minerva School, you find yourself now pursuing your passions through Minerva School, finding really good opportunities, and then you end up also collaborating with NASA on the students on Capitol Hill. Keep going with this. This is interesting.
Right. So finally, one surprising thing happens. Like I go, like my parents give me about 200 Bangladeshi taka to take a photo for the United States visa. I take the risk. I take that money and eat a burger instead and submit a demo photo of myself. Like I took a picture of myself through a phone, like, and I then submitted, and I was thinking it was fine because my friend told me that he got the visa the same way. So like that happened to be a minor fault in my end, and I think I'm really sorry. You shouldn't be you shouldn't take risks like this. You need to take calculative risks. So what happened is that they approved my visa, but they said that you need to submit a picture, and that was a scary moment because like even if you're approved, anything might go wrong, right? So I went into my interview one day after our annual Eid celebration, and then we went on to seeing that like 10 days later I get the visa, and finally everything's set. Finally, after Quanta happening, after a wait of nearly 2 years, in July 2018, I get to know that I'm going towards my dream, right? So this long wait is like that long walk to freedom, but this is the point where you shouldn't give up, because I was so near to giving up every dream that I had. And I told myself, and that is the point that being stubborn is very necessary. That is the point where it's very necessary that you need to be stubborn in your capabilities, right? So one thing that happened is that I told myself that this can happen. I told my friends that this could happen. And even the most essential people in my life were starting to having a doubt about like whether I'd eventually make it. But
that's also a good test.
That's also a good test, right? Because like in the end, like no matter how many people you trust, no matter how many people you love, in the end, you need to love yourself.
Love yourself, believe in yourself.
Love yourself and believe in yourself. And finally, I'm here in Minerva Schools.
Yes.
So that was a short point of my journey. But the most important thing that I'd like to highlight in today would be Crossroads College Consulting, like something that we have gotten up. And one motto that we have is to create accessible education for people in Bangladesh and worldwide. Because I believe that these opportunities that come for people come through the opportunities that they can find for ourselves. We had a dinner with our CEO, Ben Nelson, like a few days ago, and he told us one very important thing, that in life, you'd have every opportunity that comes in your way from now on, after we came to Minerva. But what before? What are those 5 significant ways that you make yourself, you give those SAT exams, you give those IELTS exams, you prove yourself academically, you prove yourself economically, and you prove yourself socially to secure this dream. So it's not just a give and take process, like as to like you do something and it happens directly, because there are so many variables going on, so many confounding variables going on, and you need to choose a lot of things that you need to do in order to come here. So after coming to Minerva, it has been a tough time. Like I'd be very honest with you, education, like no matter how interesting a freshman year looks, it's not at all easy, right? So I believe that in order for you to sustain yourself in a competitive environment, you need to have a very strong sense of meditation. You need to have a very strong sense of what you want to do. So coming here, the first 10 days were fine, the academics were fine, but eventually at a point it hit me. Like I was not being able to cope up because I was already coming from a gap year. The academics were really cruising because it's designed to be very condensed, because we are one of the most selective universities. But even beyond that, one thing is that our pedagogy and our academics is set in a way that we'd have to spend nearly 40 hours per week just studying of what we study. So like the tensions related to this made me cry at deep nights, like at late hour of the night. I was still thinking about what I could have done right. So many stuff going on, like missing family, going through that nostalgic burst, because you delved yourself so much into your country, you delved so much into the family relationships, but suddenly all of these feel blank. And I'll tell you this interesting story. I also booked my flight back to my country back in October, but I had this chat with my dad where he told me that you have come this far and millions of students of Bangladesh want to come in your position. So why are you not seizing your opportunity? Why are you not seizing the day? Why are you just doing that? You should be able to go onto that ability to actually go forward with your life. You should not stick there. This is not the base. You have the capability to do more. And then NASA Space Apps Hackathon happens. So if we were to move into that.
That's such a good moment from Dad. You're trying to go back and Dad's like, get there. You got this opportunity. That's great. We need those influences. Yeah, the next one, Ronnie, that we got up. Yeah, that one. So this NASA hackathon happens. Let's teach us about this.
Yeah. So Minerva, before even coming to Minerva, we had a very strong network between the seniors because our first class is graduating in 2019. So what happened is that our seniors had a very good space club. So very good space club where people were doing lots of things. And I definitely shout out to Antonio Falstart, who was the pioneer over here, and my friend Asir, who eventually helped me a lot in the process into understanding how to come to Minerva, because he was the first one to come here. And eventually I got to understand would this be a fit? And then I saw the traveling factor, and I really grew my love for traveling in the gap year. And that's why I took this big step in coming to Minerva. So on 20th October of 2018, we as about roughly 20 people go on to NASA Space Apps Hackathon, which is probably one of the biggest hackathons, global hackathons that happened. And in the end, we got to form a team. This is my teammate from Minerva. His name is Haitham. He has been one of the most crucial parts of my growth at Minerva. And these are two random people we met in NASA Space Apps Hackathon, and we did not even have a team in the first day of the hackathon. So his name is Kusha, he's Ali. So we formed this team in the first day, and I made an idea in about 15 minutes thinking about how we can create a virtual reality experience for students or people around the world to feel like an astronaut in Mars. So we use NASA's 3D database to create Space Trove, which would help people invest in specific places of Mars, right? So you're in a location where Earth is inhabitable, and now you are prompted to go to space. And you're going to have to go to different locations of Mars where you would find clues about which places are good. Per se, Gale Crater is a very good location for finding water, where you can create a civilization, right? So you're going to invest 50 Trove tokens over there, and you're going to sustain your livelihood, and you are going to be able to trade among players. So creating a trading scenario with a virtual reality scavenger hunt mode was our idea, which eventually won the Californian round, and we were privileged to be the global nominee and global champion coming from Minerva, from California, and broader Mountain View in San Francisco. So that was a breaking point where the first break coming into San Francisco was NASA Space Apps, which eventually led me to taking further risks. And if you go to the next slide, we're going to see what capabilities that it embodied. So this is Students on Capitol Hill. So Students on Capitol Hill is a member organization of Alliance of Space Development. So Alliance of Space Development deals with policy advocacy regarding what we can do better for space, what we can do better for policy advocacy in the Senate and the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. of the United States.
What you discovered with your virtual reality experience can awaken people to some very interesting thoughts about the space economy, and you can then go and push that to senators. Yeah, very exciting.
So one thing that happened is that I had seen my friends going here, but I was thinking about how we can take this step further. So I applied. I talked to Ian Burrell from Virginia Tech about what they do over here, and I had the audacity that no other non-American had been, in the best of my knowledge, been selected to be a team leader before any time before, because Students on Capitol Hill happened for 3 or 4 times before, and people were going on to talk to senators who were elected by different states. It was very different because back in our country, we do not have that capability to interact with our leaders, right? We do not have that capability to talk to people who are already in the parliament of our country, because you have to go through so many steps. You have to talk to his assistant, you have to talk to the secondary assistant, you have to talk to the tertiary assistant, and even after that, you're not going to be able to get to the top leader. But this experience about directly going to a senator and being able to tell them about your demands, about this is what we want for space. We want a better safe space because asteroids hit Russia in 2013 in Chelyabinsk, but we want a better system from NASA so that the Office of Space Commerce can actually enact these laws into the system so that we can have a better space, better scenario where people can go to Mars if they want to. So having to be the first non-American to lead a team of veterans going into Senate, that was a crucial opportunity in my life. I had already been to Mexico with my very good friend Abraham, and that gave me a wider perspective into the global scenario of how Chihuahua, or like how the Mexican X, or like the border, or going to a Mexican wedding itself, like all these things, and spending a new Christmas, like spending my first birthday in a different country, like these experiences. And one funny thing is that after this, the amount of love that I received, like I had the ability to meet two of my very close relatives after 5.5 years. I met my best friend from school, Ishan Palma. I also met my aunt, one of my closest aunts back in Virginia, Maryland, and I had a journey over 8 cities of United States. So I went over to Vegas, I went over to LA, I went over to Texas, New Mexico. I had my first opportunity at skiing. I went over to Maryland, I went over to Washington, I went over to Maryland. All these places, and also into Mexico, like these places helped me see a broader perspective, that it's not just about the congested phase of San Francisco, because at certain times, no matter how inspiring Silicon Valley is, at a certain point it feels very mechanic as to what you want to do with your life, right? So having this broader perspective as to having that intuition about your business abilities or your ideation abilities, this helped me push to go more forward. So that was a crucial point in me sustaining to see myself as someone bigger, even bigger, with this flag in my hand. So I believe that, like, as a Bangladeshi, I aspire to be big, and I'm really thankful to Minerva Schools and the broader Bangladeshi community to inspire me to a point where I could have taken these risks.
And you're still pushing. You're pushing with Crossroads. You're pushing with BioCurious, with the Power of Pause, with the students on Capitol Hill, with taking what's in your passions and breaking through all of the barriers and getting towards a place of greater success and trying to help other people realize that full potential within themselves as well. I love the mentor programs as well that you're aiming to help inspire, just helping push down these opportunities for more people and enable them to see themselves and love themselves and push for themselves and build a better social fabric. It's very strong stuff. We wish you continued prosperity, the greatest prosperity, Sadid. All right, let's do a couple just quick questions on the way out. And this is you tackling your fears. You're going skydiving. What is it, tomorrow?
Nah, it's not tomorrow. So like
soon.
So two big plans is that, like, I was working with multiple startups in San Francisco because Minerva gives us the opportunity to interact with a lot of civic partners in San Francisco. So I had the opportunity to work with LiveGuide for a month, where we worked about connecting mentors with students and professional networks and develop them in a way that they can be so big in and understanding their potential. Second, I had this capability to work with Rachel from Google, where we work with emotional intelligence, and we create a system where people can take a pause out of their lives. So like if you look into your hand, looking at that for 30 seconds and zooming out to feel yourself in the moment into going forward, like these are the things that I've been doing. And even though like there are lots of internship applications that you can do, and I have had the utmost pleasure and gratitude for finding those, like I think like I would still be wanting to go back to Bangladesh, to the audience who are still with us today, like finding a space where people who are from an unprivileged background, they can find something. So this image is a representation of what I'm currently doing. So I'm very afraid of heights. So like this is rappelling, you're on a single rope, the rope can tear down anytime, and if you fall, you basically die. Like it's no going back. So holding on to that rope and trying out something new just because you want to overcome that fear, want to feel limitless. I
love it.
Is the point where you have to take the break. So like me, Haitham, and all the friends that we have in Minerva, we're trying to do this thing. On the 17th of March, which is a very special day, like we want to make a skydive from about 13,000 feet, where we'd have a minute in the air.
Good.
Dealing with our fears, like basically dealing with our fears.
Good.
Into like jumping into the unknown. So
good.
I think one big part of my day is, or big part of every day is waking up feeling that like pressure, like you have that jaundice like every day, like feeling that weakness, like, but from a perspective of a survivalist scenario where like you grow up within toxicity, you grow up within so many comments, you grow up within like so many obstacles. coming to a point where you have abundance, coming to a point where you are not sure, you're all alone, you have never had the opportunity to make your own food or go through such harsh academics coming from gap year, comprising all this with your work, with your life, and keeping that balance in going to make a sustainable future, I think that required a lot of grit. And coming from a place where privilege was not a very big word, and fighting my way through, just being just another ordinary Bangladeshi kid, I think that if I have the capability to do it, you have the capability to do it, and Bangladeshi students have the capability to do it. So I think that is the biggest takeaway from my life, that I want to work with Crossroads. I want to make education and higher education accessible for most people around the world.
Absolutely.
So that education is not a hit or miss opportunity, but it's a choice. We want to make sure that people have a choice in what they do in life. And I hope that through the inspiration that I get from people like you and from the opportunities that we have in our hands, we are able to create a society, or we are able to create opportunity for people where they have the capability to come on and talk about their lives and inspire people in their journeys. Because my journey wasn't like just hit it and everything goes into place. I've been to 1,000 debates, I've been to 100 math Olympiads, I've been to 1,000 football games. We lost 90% to 95% of those things, and only 5 to 3% of the things that we have won, and we have held on to that inspiration to take the risk going forward.
That's right.
So I think these are the things that make yourself differentiated from an ordinary person just going about what they can do in their life and just passing their time, versus being someone who thinks of a bigger dream, a dream which doesn't allow them to sleep and allows them to go aspire and create opportunities for people. I think that finding happiness in creating opportunities for people is the current motivation that keeps me going forward.
Yes, yes. You speak about this with great wisdom for your youth, and we look forward to seeing you achieving everything that you set out to do. All right, quickie on the way out.
Yeah.
This is simulation, so we must ask you, are we in a simulation?
I think we're in a simulation, and people like Alan have a very big capability to highlight more than 300 people who are aspiring in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Like, he has this capability of like drawing out their stories. So I would like to make a comment about simulation if this were the true things. So my dream currently is that with Crossroads, with the combined help from my friends in Bangladeshis Beyond Borders or like in Bangladesh, we would like to create a system where millions of youth from Bangladesh have the capability to make a choice in their education, and playing a factor in that, and in order to create a more smooth governance, in order to create a more smooth process of their life, even by an inch, I think, if that is something that I can accomplish for myself, I would consider myself to be someone who has done something for the people, and I would take that inspiration and go forward, and I would always strive to be an inch better, a degree better than what I am today. So I'd always try to keep improving. So my icon was Cristiano Ronaldo for a lot of days, because in 2012, he had one Ballon d'Or, and he had only one thing in comparison to his arch rival like Messi. 5 years down the line, he told that in his mind, he was the best. And that stubbornness to believe in himself when the entire world mocked him, helped him win 4 more Ballon d'Ors to go on to 5-5 to level out the Arc-Nemini. It's not about the competition. The root of this is, no matter, even if the world is against you, no matter if like billions of people are against you, if billions of people say that you don't deserve it, like you have gone through it and you were in a privileged scenario, I think you have a lot more in your story. I believe that you have so many struggles that isn't described through your smiles. Like Alan is smiling, I'm smiling. We have so many struggles behind our back. We have so many pierces behind our back, but we choose to look into the happier side, that happiness project, that optimism part of our lives, to hold on to that and build upon that. So I think that building up would be my simulation, and that's where I would want to see myself.
You're getting through all of the objectives of leveling up your character in the game.
Yep.
Last question is, what do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world?
I think the most beautiful thing in the world is unity, like unity in people, and peace, I believe, because like happiness is temporary and peace is permanent, I believe, because peace helps people sustain their lifestyle wherever they have a blank space. Like peace is like that whiteboard that you can always wipe out. Like no matter what the black dark marks are on the piece of that whiteboard, you can always wipe that off and start from a clean slate, right? Because if you have peace, if you have unity within that peace, you're going to be able to do anything that you want to. Just that you'd have to be spiritual to a degree, you'd have to have that meditation capability, and you'd have to have that pause and taking a step back and looking into your life as to see like what capabilities that you have and what opportunities that you're going to have if you're just taking a pause and looking into yourself. It's not about looking into what people are doing. It's not about the comparisons. It's about looking at yourself and looking at the best version of yourself. So looking at these two selves and seeing how you can reach that person, or you can create a better society, that's going to push you to a level which is very, very, very far ahead in comparison to a person who you'd only care about yourself. So I think that portion, that thing is my takeaway for life. Like that inspiration to do something bigger than yourself, my inspiration to see that like peace can be the core of a lot of things in life.
Yes, and with that peace and unity, we will have a much more prosperous world.
So,
Sadid, yes.
Here's my audience in Bangladesh, and I'd like to ask you one question. Is that if you were to tell about like from seeing me, I'm just a representation of like the broader capabilities that my country has. I would just wish you to tell something to the audience who are like currently in Bangladesh. Like, what do you want to tell them about this show, about me, or like about yourself, or opportunities, or just about dreams that they might have? Just if you would want to say a line or two. It can be absolutely random. You don't need to be very thoughtful. Just advice to.
Well, it's very important for me to be thoughtful. I don't treat anything frivolously. So
I love that about you.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. So something that inspires a sense of divine collective unity and potential on our planet is to really get the big history, divine perspective of why we're here, everyone. And when we think about all things ever evolving just on this rock, on this earth, it can help us better realize that we are all one, we are all together, and we have to figure out how to best prosper collectively. And there's people around the world that care about really figuring that out, and a lot of this conversation has been about that, and that's why I really wanted to sit down with you on the show. So the one thing is, remember that sense of unity, that sense of togetherness that we have, and let's do our best to make an opportunities available for everyone to be their full creative potential on this world, and really figuring that out. So that would be the thing. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries.
Thank you.
It was a privilege for me to come here and sharing with you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to be here. It's been a pleasure to sharing my story and learning a bit more about the takes that you have and this amazing platform called Simulation Series. Please subscribe to it, I hope. And I'd say that like I would want us to believe in ourselves in Bangladesh. I'd like the world to believe in themselves and just give their part of the puzzle to the entire big story, right? So I think if we have that commitment within ourselves, if we have people like Alan working, if we have people like these people around us working right now, I think it's highly possible for us to achieve anything that we deem impossible right now, because impossible isn't a word, it's just a state of mind. Possibility is the permanence.
Love it. That was so solid. Thanks everyone for tuning in from Bangladesh. We greatly appreciate you and all the friends around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, I want to thank you guys as well for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on the episode. We would also love you to continue supporting artists and entrepreneurs that you believe in. Help us succeed in our communities, help build a better social fabric around us, everyone. Thank you to Ron Vargas for producing and directing.
Thank
we
you so
love
much.
you very much, Ronnie. And go and build the future, everyone. Go and manifest your dreams into
Be
the
the
world.
simulation. Be the simulation that you want to see in the world.
Keep leveling up, baby.
Yeah.
Much love and take care. We'll see you soon. Peace.
See you soon. Thank you so much, guys, for hosting. Perfect take, I think.